Born April 19th, 1927. I got into the music business when I was about 8 years old. Less than 8 years old. My dad bought me a little 98-cent ukulele, and I learned to play it. I learned the chords and all on it, and they had a bunch of guys who used to come around on a Saturday night once a month and play music. I got in with that outfit, watched the chords on a guitar, and I taught my sister how to chord a guitar when I couldn't even reach the chords. She learned to play it, and I taught another brother, and we started off as a Skelton trio. And we played a few places, mostly just small entertainment things. We never did do anything big. This was in the Springfield area.
Okay.
We lived on a farm out east of Springfield. My dad was a farmer, but he always worked for the other fella.
Mm-hmm.
And we moved around a lot.
Did you have a radio in your family home growing up?
And it only played one station, WSM, on Saturday night. Dad was a farmer, and we listened to the radio on Saturday night. It was always WSM.
That's the Grand Ole Opry.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. I knew it way back when Roy Acuff was the hottest thing in the country. Roy. I was working on the farm at that time, and the fellow wanted to defer me, and I said, I can't take a deferment. Because he said, why? And I said, well, I've got a brother that's got a wife and one child, and he was taken in service in '42. And I said, he served all through the war here, and I ain't going to back up on anything. I've got to go do my time in the service. So I did. I got out of service in 1946. I met a fella from London that sang all the Ernest Tubb songs. And I sort of played that style of guitar. Well, we played around London for a time or two there, and then I got introduced to Georgia Slim. He sang all the Hank Williams stuff. And that was the popular thing in the 50s. It really went big. Hank was the biggest thing in the country. Well, Slim and I got together in 1947. We started singing, the two of us. We called ourselves the Sunflower Boys. They called me Little Slim. I was smaller than he was. Little Slim and Big Slim, the Sunflower Boys. Georgia Slim was a guy with a big heart. Anybody he'd come in, if they sang, he'd come up and do us a song. Well, from that, a guitar man come up, pick us a tune. Well, there was about 3 or 4 guys around town. It was good hot guitar men. But they come up, and Slim would invite them up, I'd hand them my guitar, and they'd pick a fire of that thing for about 1 or 2 songs, you know. Hand that thing back to me, and I was stuck till 2 o'clock. Well, that was pretty embarrassing, you know. So you do one thing, either get better or get out. So I worked night and day on the guitar. And the first thing you know, I had pretty well got the thing running for me, you know. And that's when things started happening. The first thing you know, we got a job on the radio. And we met Faye Oliver.
This is WIZE?
WIZE. At that time, they didn't send the waves into the station on the air. They sent them in on telephone line. We'd pull up to these here concessions at the fairground. They'd throw us out an electric line and a phone line. Well, they plugged the phone line into the station's equipment, and the electric into our electric guitar and microphones and stuff of the sort. And we was on, but we couldn't figure out, at each 30 minutes they give a station break. But it was only about, 3 minutes? They'd do a little commercial in between or so. 5 minutes at the most.
Mm-hmm.
Give us time to pull from one concession to the other, and we'll line them all up in the midway, one right after the other. We pull from one to the other, but when Bobby Bear would come on the scene, they found out he was 17. And he played a short time with us in the club, but until the manager wanted him to leave. I think Bobby wanted to leave too. because Bobby was moving fast at that time. He was gaining popularity pretty quick. And we'd pull up and we'd say, has anybody got a request? Well, you hear 4 or 5 different songs hollered out. One of us guys could play, guys had no trouble. I played a lot of instrumentals, and I could do the guitar work. Well, the fiddle player was anything he played, they give him any fiddle tune, he could fiddle in. Between Bear and Slim and Lonzo Fox, we could just about answer the bill. So we, one song right after the other for 4.5 hours. It was a lot of fun. Mr. Hinkle was paying us $55 a man to do everything. But $55 a man per day was pretty good wages. I mean, even for an entertainer at that
Sure.
time, in the early 50s. So we managed to do the fair for a week, and we had a lot of fun doing it. Chet Atkins, he was my favorite. Everybody's favorite at that time, really. Well, I went to see the opera, and it was at the Ryman, and we got there and didn't have tickets. They were sold out. We couldn't get a ticket. We went around back, and Jimmy Dickens was unloading and getting ready to do the opera. We got to talking. Jimmy told me we couldn't get tickets and stuff of the sort. Oh, he said, I'll take care of you. Come here, we'll go in the back door. Well, he took me and my wife and another fellow and his wife together, and took us in the back door, right by the dressing rooms. And sitting in one of those dressing rooms was Chet Atkins. Boy, I stepped in there and shook Chet's hand and talked to him. That fellow sat there and played that guitar and talked to me and never missed a note. Never heard such beautiful guitar playing. So that spurs a fellow on too, but that's before I really got better on the guitar in the club. Well, finally, that's when this year tremolo thing had just come out. Chet had one, Al Myers from Columbus had one, Jabbo Harrington had one. Gibson Company made 6 of them and quit making them. Well, they hung them on the guitars, and only the very popular guys got them. Well, I went to see Al Myers, and he showed me that outfit, and I played his guitar a little bit. And I said, I'd like to have this thing. He said, date for sale. He said, the only 6 of them made, and I was lucky enough to get one of them. Said, I don't want to sell it. I said, well, I'm going to take measurements off of this, and I'm going home and try to make me one of these. And if I can't make this, I'm going to come back and try to buy this from you. I got to pay you $200 for it. He said, if you bring $200 back, you can buy it. At that time, I didn't have $200, but I went home, and I was working in a factory that done plating, and it worked for steel and stuff of the sort. I bent around and made me a tailpiece for my guitar. I went to the Yost Spring Company there in Springfield, and they turned me out a whole handful of springs, different strength, you know. Well, I played my guitar strings against them. I seen it. The other thing that was on that Chet and that fellas had, it had, when you wiggled it, turn it loose, it'd come back and hit a stop, and it was in tune.
Exactly.
Mine didn't have a stop. My fiddle player, I about run him completely crazy. My guitar was out of tune half of the time. But it took me, in a little bit of no time, I learned how to master that thing. When I would play and shake that tremolo effect, if I took my little finger and flipped it, it went right back into tune. Jimmy Bowman didn't know this. And boy, when they heard me doing that, they all the guitar men in the town come down to look at me. Well, I was pretty out on the hog at that time. Well, Jimmy couldn't wait to get a hold of that big blonde guitar with that tremolo on it. Come up and picked up my guitar, and the first thing he done was grab that thing and shook it, but he didn't know how to get her back into it.
Exactly.
And here he was in the middle of a song, and his guiar attitude. Listen, I never seen a guy so embarrassed in my life. Whenever he turned that thing loose, he left the club and had never come back. Never again did he ask for my guitar. Well, I thought I'd sure got even with him because he made me feel bad for a lot of times. I had such things as that happened. But then the last year I played, Slim McCoy was my fiddle player. Slim's dead now, but he was a fine fiddle player, a whiskey drinking man. Never seen a fella could drink that much whiskey and stay sober. But he'd drink whiskey in a water glass, beat anything I ever seen. Must have been drinking when he was a kid or something to get so immune to that stuff. But he could drink her down. And anyway, this fiddle player of mine had a job with Bradley Kincaid. And Bradley at that time was somewhat in semi-retirement.
Mm-hmm.
He run a music store. He had he done a show once in a while and lived out of town and just rested more than anything else. Then he opened this here amphitheater at Lakewood Beach Park, which is on, at that time was north of Springfield on the Valley Pike. And which now is 559 or something sort. That route goes straight up through there, by the mall.
Okay.
Anyway, and it was real popular. And he'd had it a year or so before I got in the band. But Slim had the contract with him, McCoy, and I had the contract in the club. We played Friday and Saturday night in the club for me. Then on Sunday we played 2 shows at the park, Lakewood Beach Park. And Bradley was a very good promoter. We'd come on. He'd done 2 shows, one at 11 and one at 2. We'd come on and Bradley'd sing a song and we'd play. And then he'd introduce us boys in the band, and we usually play an instrumental and sing a song or 2 like that. Then they would introduce one of the guys off the Hayride from WLW in Cincinnati.
Mm-hmm.
And at that time, Charlie Gore was the hottest thing in the country. Bonnie Lou was there, the Turner brothers there, Clay Eager was there. A couple more guys that went to Nashville, I can't remember his name, a big fat fella that went to Nashville from WLW. But anyway, Charlie come up and Bradley would hire them single, only could hire them cheap, see. But we played their music. We didn't bring a band or nothing. We played their backup music.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I played backup guitar for Brenda Lee when she was 15. You know who Brenda Lee is?
Of course I do, yeah.
Well, she was 15. Her mother and dad had divorced, and her mother was overseeing Brenda's career. And she told little Brenda Lee, stood there in the wing and told little Brenda Lee every action. That kid went out there and performed like a pro. We played her backup music, and at that time I had learned to play guitar well enough that if you would sing a song that I'd never heard, if you'd sing a song and a chorus, at the end of the chorus I could take a break. And I'd done that for Brenda Lee. And when I'd done it for Charlie Gore, Charlie Gore went wild. He thought that guitar man he's got to have. So he offered me a job. And when he offered me a job, boy, that's big time. And he made me what I thought in 1956 was a good offer. He offered to pay me $200 a week and every one of my expenses. He said, when you're on the road, you send $200 home to your family, and I'll pay everything else, including your food, lodging, everything. Well, that was a good offer.
Yeah.
Then Charlie come on, and they had another act. Bradley would hire a big act. He hired people from the movies. He had the first time that outfit come together was Bradley's band would come on, Charlie Gore would come on and shot it, done his bit, and they had Frog Milhouse, which is Smiley Burnette. Smiley Burnette's Gene Autry's sidekick, you know, the guy with the patch horse. I had him on, and he had a pretty good act. But at noon, the break came. Well, I looked down, and here was Smiley sitting in the swing back of the theater, and everybody wants to meet a movie star. At least I did. I run down to see Frog, you know, sit down in the swing, and he said, "Man, you play a mean guitar there. What are you going to do from here on?" I said, "Going to play music. What do you got going for you? More than this?" I said, "Oh yeah, got a big offer." "What's your offer?" I said, "Charlie Gore." He said, "Oh, don't go with Charlie." Immediately I thought, what's this guy doing? Jealous of Charlie Gore and him in the movies? Didn't make sense. I let it go. Then they had, next week, they had somebody else on. I forget who it was, probably Bonnie Lou or one of the red guys from WLW. And the next week over here was Charlie again, because Bradley booked Charlie every other week, boy, as hot as he could, because Charlie was a good drawing card. Well, the same thing happened, only this time they had a guy by the name of Al St. John. Fuzzy Q. Jones played opposite Lash LaRue in the movies, Western movies. He was a Western star, and he had a good act. He'd done a shooting act and a roping and stuff of the sort, and he had a steel man with him and had a sound for every move that boy was made. He was sort of short with a beard clear down here. Well, the break came, and I looked out, and here was Fuzzy sitting in the swing. I went down to see him too, but I seen something different this time. That guy was reading the Wall Street Journal. A clown reading the Wall Street Journal. That didn't make good sense to me, but I sat down anyway. And he turned around and asked me the exact same question as Froggy did. He said, "You boy, you play a lot of guitar." I said, "Why? What are you going to do with it? Where are you going from here?" I said, "Oh, I got a job." "Where's your job?" I said, "Charlie Gore." "Oh, don't go with Charlie." Twice that was too much. I had to ask him, "Why? Why are you telling me not to go with Charlie Gore?" He said, "Son, if you're going to make anything in this music business, you've got to be a businessman." He said, "Charlie Gore's a playboy and he's going nowhere." Brother, was he right? No time at all, Charlie had left WLW. And I would have left with him. That started me thinking about where I was headed. Well, on my way back to the club the next night, I had to pass a little Salvation Army man singing on the corner. And they was singing about and the fellow was preaching about wrong decisions, a crossroads. Which one will you take? I had to carry my guitar and amplifier right through that bunch to my club. He ate at me like a cancer.
What was the club you were playing?
Huh?
What club were you playing, Harlan?
We had a place called Eddie's Grill, and it had changed places by the name of Eddie didn't own it no longer. While we was playing there, Eddie sold it to a fellow named Babe Padlow, which later on bought the Western Inn and bowling alley clear at the end of Columbia Street out there toward where Route 40 hit Main Street, out in the west end of town. But anyway, I went in the club, then I got a definite contact from the man upstairs. Said, now you made a mess out of it, what are you going to do with it? Well, I got out of it and joined a church. And I thought I had got saved to play music in the church. I took my guitar to church and I could not handle it. Every time I picked that thing up and got up to play music, I was back in that club. And I had learned to live a better life by that time. And I was afraid I would lose it. I sold that guitar. I paid $500 for it in 1950. And 51, I think it was. and I sold it for $300 to get rid of it. Then I never touched a guitar after that till about in the 80s. Me and the wife was messing around at a yard sale, and the guy had a guitar for sale for $125. It and an amplifier. I went and wondered if I could still play that thing. I picked it up, and I hadn't lost as much as I thought I might have. I'll play for my own entertainment, so I bought the thing. And I got to plinking around. Oh, I went down to Kincaid's store to buy a set of Milton G. Wolf strings, because I like strings that didn't squeak when you stepped your fingers on. Went down, and here was Bradley's boy, Jim Kincaid. Now, he's semi-retired from the store, but I think he spends a lot of time in there. But he's a guy that you ought to go see, because he knew all the musicians around town. Ford Rush, all the rest of the guys. And I didn't know he knew me that well, but I'd met him through Bradley. He come running around there and grabbed my hand and started shaking my hands and says, "Slim Skelton, where in the world have you been?" I said, "Man, I've been here raising a family." "Why?" "Well," I said, "you still got that big blonde guitar, haven't you?" I said, "Oh, no. I sold that thing a long time ago." "How much did you get out of it?" I said, $300. He said, $300? He said, "Come here, I'm going to make you a sick man." He walked around and opened up that big old collector's book. There she was, brother. Almost $8,000. And he said, "What do you think of this?" I said, "You don't know it, man, but that's the best buy I ever made. That's the best trade I ever made in my life. And I'm glad I made it."
Yep.
He couldn't figure that out, but I've had it figured out a long time. Because I've lived a good life, brother. I can tell you, Bobby Bear made it popular, makes a lot of money, and is very popular, and I admire Bobby for doing it. But I'll tell you one thing, I've had a better time than he has, and I know it. Because I've lived with peace inside all of my life. Since 1956. And brother, my wife passed away. I thought I was done forever. I thought my life was done. I about went crazy. I'd always had a wife. Always had someone to talk to. But she's gone. I thought, man, for a little while I was about going crazy. I couldn't figure out what was wrong. Well, my children seen I was in trouble. I got 4 children, 3 girls and a boy. One of them's right in there. She hit here about the same time you did. And they started setting me up with women to take to dinner, to try to find someone that I could get along with. Was nothing there, brother. I took out 1 or 2 dozen women to dinner. Nothing. And I had one woman, she was a very nice woman to be with. It was a pleasant evening. I asked her about what her plans was and stuff. So, she said, "I can't get married, but I'll come down and live with you and see if we can get along." I said, "Not in my house, you won't. My house is not like that." Well, I went to a grieving party. I thought it was grief. I went to this grieving party at the funeral home, one of the funeral homes. And they had a woman there that said, "Oh, this woman's just right for you." No, she wasn't either. She wasn't even in the running. Anyway, old fella sat there real quiet. And he said to me, after this done, I told him I was after a wife. I wasn't after no party or date or nothing. I was after hunting for a wife. And this old man said, "If you want a wife, son, why don't you try getting a wife like I got mine? Like you got yours. How'd you get your wife?" He said, "Won't you try praying?" Wednesday night, I went and asked God. I said, "I'm in trouble. I need a wife. And I got to have a good one. If you've got one for me, send her around." 3 days later, I went to church and there she was. The minute I took hold of her hand, all that anxiety and frustration that I had left me just like that. That told me that she was the one. I talked to her. Everything I said to her was a yes. That woman has been a widow in this community right here for 6 years. None of these fellas seen nothing. She's a jewel. Yes, sir. As fine as they get. She's sitting right there, and I mean it with all my heart. We've never spent a minute that I wasn't completely happy with him. So these fellas that make it popular, it's good maybe for them, but it didn't work for me. It couldn't happen for me. So Bobby and them, they've made a lot in the music business, but I got out at the right time, and I'm a happy man for doing it. And Bobby, I can tell you a few things about Bobby that is funny too. I don't want to tell anything on Bob that was degrading, because I know a few things it was, but I'm not going to tell them. There was one time that I played a season for Bobby in Wellston, Ohio. He played in a club down at Wellston. We went down there. That's when Bob Tincher, the guy that, another guy who played the bass fiddle, he was in the band. Cullen Spangler with a steel man, he was in the band. And I don't remember who else was. Me and Bobby Bear, I think a 4 or 5 piece band. Played at the Phillips Grill. Miss Phillips liked Bobby and stuff of the sort, so she made a place. So Saturday night, when the club closed down, the apartment up above the club was empty, so we got to go up to the apartment and stay in the apartment up there. So it sort of become a party place too. Anyway, we'll leave that one off. So consequently, I learned to know Bobby Bear real well. We run around together. We've done some fun things together. We had some good times together, which we thought was good times at the time. But anyway, Bobby, then we cut loose from Bobby. Bobby went west at that time.
December 1954. December 1954.
That's when he went west. Then he came home, and he came to my house first. And he come down and met Bob Tincher, which was the bass man that he knew real well. And the two of them come down, and it was either Christmas or Thanksgiving, but I think it was Christmas. Me and Big Slim, me and him and his wife, he had no children, the wife. Him and his wife was having dinner with us. And we had just finished a 24-pound turkey. And all we could eat was the breast of that turkey, with just me, 4 of us, and the children. By the time you eat the breast of a 24-pound turkey, the rest of it is not as tempting as that breast is. Well, here come Bobby and Bob Tincher in. And Bobby was telling me about being with the girl. He went with 2 girls, I think. May have been the Davis sisters, I'm not sure. May have been Skeeter, I don't know that. Don't remember who the girls were, but I know it was 2 girls. Well, Bobby came home, come down to my house, and he kept an eye on that turkey. It was in a roaster pan there with the breast gone. And he looked at me and he said, Slim, it'd be all right if I had one of them drumsticks there. Yeah, Barry, you can have a drumstick. Go ahead, help yourself. He picked up that drumstick and took the whole half of that turkey. Everything had come with the drum. The thigh, a part of the back stuck with it, everything. And sat there and ate it just like he was starving. Laid the bones back down there, and he kept eyeing that turkey. He said, Slim, what are you going to do with that other drumstick? I said, I'm going to give it to you, Barry. Now you take that other drumstick and eat it too. And that sucker ate that other drumstick too. He must have been hungry, because he come back. Bob Tincher never got a bite of it. He ate the whole thing. But Bobby was quite a guy. But Bobby had a habit. And the last time I seen him, he had it. He still had it. Me and my wife went down to see Bobby after he was to Opry. Went down to see, we went to visit the bear den, and finally bear come in. Wanted me to go out for dinner. Okay, well, I'll show you my house. Hey, okay, out we went. He was going to leave on a date, so we got to make a fast run of it. So we went out and had dinner. He bought dinner, hamburger and fries. But that's Bobby. He's got a habit. I don't know whether he has today or not, but he had it last time I seen him, and all through the time I knew Bobby. Did you know Bobby could have a pack of cigarettes in his pocket, and he'd bum a cigarette off of you? He beat any guy I ever seen for that. He'd stand right there and bum a cigarette off of you, and have a pack in his pocket, and you could see it there. Bobby was something else, but he was a fun guy to be around. I like Bear. He always had something to laugh about. But I'll tell you one thing, brother. If he wasn't a ladies' man, he could draw them like flies. Beat anything you ever see. Every woman that come in and heard him sing was in love with him. Poor Bear. He was something else, but Bobby made it big.
Was his ambition obvious as a teenager, or was he just another singer? Or was it apparent that he had such ambition?
Worked hard after it. Worked hard after it. Always went everywhere, and everywhere he went, he seemed to be a hit. He was good. Yeah, I went to see a show that he put on, and the funny thing was, Big Slim's wife was Margie. His name was Margie, and he put a memorial building before they tore it down in Springfield, and he used to put shows on out there. I seen Jimmy Dickens' show there. I seen a lot of fellas out of Nashville there. What was the guy that passed away the same time Patsy Cline did?
Cowboy Copas.
Yeah, Cowboy Copas put a show on there, and a lot of shows was put on there. By the way, at Lakewood Beach, I met Hank Williams. The only time I ever met Hank, ever seen him. We done our show with Bradley, and we played backup music for the guy that was in front of Hank, but Hank was a big act, and he was coming on the stage, and he grabbed my hand and shook hands with me, and I left, and that's the only time I ever seen Hank, you know. But I learned to know some other folks. I learned to know June Carter pretty well. I knew her when she was married to Carl Smith. And in fact, I was at her and Carl Smith in Dayton, Ohio, at a show at Dayton, Ohio, when news come that Hank Williams had died. I don't remember exactly what year that was.
January 1st, 1953.
And June was there. June wanted me to go out and eat dinner with them. They had, she said, let old Moneybags by. That was Carl Smith. She said, let old Moneybags by. That was before June got her teeth fixed, you know. One time June Carter was buck teeth, brother. His teeth stuck out in front. Eat an ear of corn through her picket fence. She was something else. But very, very talented girl. She's a good singer. And she married Johnny Cash. I was down to see at the opera after that. I met several of the entertainers out of Nashville. I met and learned to know fairly well Marty Robbins. He was a good guy. But I lost confidence in a couple of guys while I went to the opera scene one time. Gene Autry was their star, was the entertainer, guest on the opera. And I heard him, Burl Travis, and Grandpa Jones cussing like a sailor in the parking lot tonight. But I'll tell you, when Gene Autry was in front of that microphone, he was as nice a gentleman as you ever seen. Yes, sir. Pardon me, sir. Would you please repeat that, sir? Everything, every word was perfect. Boy, when he got off that stage, whew. Him and Mel Wood was the piano player. He was after Mel Mel Wood too, but Mel Wood, I don't think, played a part for him. And I seen Marty Robbins before he made it, before he got ugly. When he was first come on, he was a handsome man. Marty Robbins was. But Marty Robbins just owned that opera after midnight for a long time. Put on a good show. He had a guitar man with him that was second to none too, especially on that there song of El Paso. That guitar man's hot.
And that was either Hank Garland or Grady
Hank
Martin,
Garland's the
wasn't
other
it?
guy that had the big electric. He played for Jimmy Dickens.
Okay. Oh, that's the name you were trying to think of.
Yeah,
Okay.
Hank Sugarfoot Garland. Yeah. He
yeah.
played the Sugarfoot Rag. I used to play that song too.
Okay.
I had that one worked pretty good too. But I started to tell you about the guy from Huntington was playing for Jimmy, and they played for at the park in Columbus, and Jimmy Dickens sang his song about Cold Tater and jumped back and hollered twin guitars. And I looked and his steel man was a loafing. Oh my, and here was that music. That fellow was playing both parts. Oh, I got to see this guy. Boy, I never took my eyes off of him for a while. Boy, he was a good guitar man. And I started working at that, and I learned, I never got as good on as he was. Boy, and he played with Jerry Deere on Huntington, in Huntington. Jerry was a nice fellow. I think Jerry Deere stayed married to the same woman all along. But I don't know the whole story. I just talked to Jerry just this month after I broke my leg. I had nothing to do. I going through my phone numbers, and there was Jerry Deere. I dialed, and if he didn't answer, there he was. I talked to him, and he said, "Oh, where in the world have you been? What happened to you?" And I told him my story. I think Jerry had some experience sort of similar to mine too. I think, but Jerry, he's on Facebook. He says "Living Legend" or something like that.
Yes.
But I couldn't get him up. Did you ever get him his Facebook up?
Yes, it's titled "Living Legend Jerry Deere," and it's not him that does it. He's got a couple of fans that do it for him. Yeah.
Okay. It's Living Legend Jerry Deere.
Yeah.
Does it have to be wrote any certain way, or was it
Just like that, "Living Legend Jerry Deere."
I'll try that.
That's
Because Jerry was a very good friend of mine. In fact, he done his first fiddle playing public with us. He never played public before. He joined our band.
And that was at Eddie's Bar and Grill.
That was he played with us actually before we got the job at the Grill. I think I'm not sure of that, but he played at the Eddie's Grill. But I think he only played one season with me there. But it was during the season was at the fair.
Okay.
Because this crew here that's in that picture there
Yes.
that I give you,
Yes.
that's the crew that played the fair, mindless Fay Oliver.
Okay.
But that crew and they had the fiddle player named Eldridge, Carl Eldridge.
I mean, his voice is tremendous.
Yeah, good voice.
He's just believable when he sings. You believe what he's singing.
Bear run into a patch of luck when he went down. See, Bobby is a mighty friendly man. He's a good personality if you get to know him. But he went to Nashville and he took a few drinks with Mel Tillis. And Mel Tillis is another fellow that gets along good with people. But Mel Tillis is a businessman. He's a better businessman than Bobby Barry ever seen. I thought he was. I don't know how good a businessman Bobby is, actually, because he he was always seemed to be headed somewhere and wasn't quite there, you know. Always full of energy, full of go. Always had a lot going for him, as far as people was concerned, because I don't know anybody that didn't like Bear Bobby. Just everybody liked him. And he met Mel. Now, this I don't know personally, but I've been told that by several people, and by Bear some too. And Mel had wrote this song that he couldn't sing. It had talking in it, and he gave it to Bobby Bear.
That's Detroit City.
You got that? And Detroit City, he hit another piece of luck. He got to be a friend to Chet Atkins, and Chet Atkins at RCA, and put him on in business.
Yeah.
And when he done Detroit City, he didn't have to do anything else, but he had a good follow-up, 5 miles away from home.
Mm-hmm.
What a good one. Now this American Boy never went anywhere, to be truthful with you. I don't think I ever heard it sang more than twice or 3 times in all my time.
Did you know Bill Parsons in Springfield?
Oh, yeah. Played on the same stage with Billy Parsons. Yeah, he played along with Bear. He was one of the people who comes into the club. Billy was invited up every time he came in the club. And I'm not too sure which one of them fellas wrote it, because both of them was working on it, the last I heard. But I don't know what Bobby, I can't remember Bobby singing it big in public, but I remember Bill singing it one time and bombed on it, because he sang All American Boy, and everybody thought he was singing about Elvis Presley.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, I'm an American boy. I'm All American Boy. He shouldn't have done it. He should let it go, and that song would have made #1. No, he messed it up. He said, no, he was an All American Boy. He didn't have no popularity. Nobody knew him.
Did he stay in Springfield, Bill
Who?
Parsons?
He lived in Springfield when I knew him there, yeah.
But he passed away some years ago.
I never knew that. I lost connection with the majority of these.
Okay, okay. That's what Jerry told me.
I kept hearing about him and stuff, so.
Okay.
Sadler Brothers, they played in my band too. Jim and Billy both, Sadlers in my band. And Jimmy was a good singer, but Bill played the bass. And he filled in lots of times in my band. Sadler Brothers. And there was another guy by the name of he had a heart attack. I forget the young guy that had a heart attack. But he was a hot guitar man too. In fact, he was probably a better guitar man than Bill or Jimmy Bowman.
Did you play on other radio stations besides WIZE?
Just the two. I played on WJEL for the fair, and I played WIZ with Faye Oliver and also with Jesse Burr, the pianist.
So you didn't play the Wellston radio station with Bobby? He had a show down on the Wellston radio station for a while too. I
think he may have done that even after I played with him. I only played one season with him there. And me and Bob Teacher was playing with us at that time too. He played a bass. And a guy by the name of Spangler, Cullen Spangler. He was younger than us. He played steel. He played for Bear also.
Harlan, what year were you born? Okay.
I'm 91, be 91 the 19th of April.
Okay.
Shortly after that, Hank Williams come on. Lefty Frizzell. This guy was singing High Sheriff and shot himself. Four Walls was his song. Singing High Sheriff. What's his name?
Four Walls, yeah.
Let me tell you.
I can't remember either.
Some of the guys that offered me a job last year I played. One of them was of course Charlie Gore, and I turned Charlie down when I quit. That automatically took care of my job. Charlie Gore, Clay Eager, Jimmy Skinner, Autry Inman. Autry Inman they was going to draft Autry Inman. He's going to have to serve a time in Vietnam or somewhere, or Korean War.
Korea, yeah.
And he was on Nashville, and he wanted me to put me down. So I'll go down, put you in the union, and guarantee you a job. And he said, then as soon as I come out, why you can have the band together for me. And he come back, and he didn't mess with music anymore. He started did black market tapes and got himself completely rich. Autry, his name's Autry Inman. They said he owned a beautiful big place on top of the mountain up there above Nashville. Autry Inman. He had a song out. It was the hottest in the country. Honey was the name of it. Honey. Charlie Gore had a Red Wagon. It was his hottest tune. Would you come and ride my little red wagon? Boys, I'll tell you, the women swarmed around, wanted to get in that red wagon. Well, I had a lot of fun playing music, but it led me in the wrong direction. But luckily, I got hooked out at the right time. Because if I'd have went on the road with Charlie Gore, it would have cost me my family, and I know that now. Because I was already pretty shaky with the family by playing in the club and acting cute and showing off for women and stuff of the sort in order to keep her attention in the club. But I'll tell you one thing, when I went out and give that man my notice, he said, I went in that next night, Saturday night after that, and told him it was my last night. And he didn't pay any attention to me until 2 weeks later, and I told him I've given you a 2 weeks notice, and this is my last night. Oh, he said, what's the matter, Harlan? You want more money? I got more money. Just tell me how much. I said, it ain't a matter of money. Well, if it ain't a matter of money, what is it? I said, I'm going to go join the church. Oh, what's that got to do with it? He said, I'm a deacon in the biggest church in this city, and I own this place. Huh. I know the church he's a city, he's a deacon in too. I told him, I said, I'm not interested in that kind of religion. If I can't have the right kind, I just don't want none. I want a life-changing experience that will do it. And I know people that had that, and I know it was available. And I'll tell you, today it's available. And all a man's got to do is seek it, and it's there. And I'll tell you one thing. Since 1956, I have never had to look for a job. Never. And I was in a trade that was a come-on trade. I was in the floor covering business. And I started as the boss's helper in about 1950. And I worked that job while I was in the club and stuff of the sort too. But 25 years later, that boss man come back and asked me would I manage his store. I said, Mr. Hughes, I don't know nothing about running a store. I said, when you give me carpet and linoleum, I'm as good as there is in this city, but I don't know nothing about running a store. He said, if you'll come and manage my store, I will give you a 10% raise on what you're making right now. I have my own company. I'll give you 10% more than what you're making right now. And I'll guarantee to teach you more in 1 year, and you can learn any college in the state of Ohio in 4. about running a store. And brother, he'd done the job. 1 year later, I'd successfully run his store for 2.5 years, and his boy came home, and his wife made him give my job to the boy. It lasted 1 year after that until he sold the store. Boy had run it in the ground. He was an accountant, and a good accountant, but he couldn't stay back of a desk. What good's an accountant that can't sit back of a desk? But I cannot say that every need in my life has been met up to this date right here. And probably the biggest setback I ever had was when I broke that leg.
So you stayed in the floor covering business for your career?
I stayed in the
Certainly.
floor
Thank you,
covering
Margaret.
business. And after I managed the Henson Company for 2.5 years, I come out. My son had a store, and he asked me to come and sell for him. So I went up, and the first day he wanted me to buy half of it. I wasn't very interested. Finally, I found out he was in trouble. I went and talked to my wife. I said, well, Steve wants me to buy it. Oh, don't do that. I said, you and Steve's got the perfect relationship, and you'll mess that up now, so you shouldn't do that. I said, my boy's in trouble, and I'm going to go help him. So you want to know? I said, how much you want for your half of the store? He said, $13,000. I gave him $13,000 and bought half his store. I went in the next day. I thought, I'd already learned the trade because I learned it at the Henson Company. He taught me how to run a store and make money. There's a trick to it. You've got to buy right, and you've got to mark up the right amount. If you don't, it won't float. And I learned what the right amount was real quick. It's 33 1/3%. That's what business has got. A small business got to operate. Unless you're a conglomerate like Kroger's and Walmart, and these people sell by the million, and they buy by the million. You can't buy for what they buy for. Naturally, they can outsell you. They're taking over the business and getting by with it. But I don't know no way to beat them.
Harlan, can I backtrack
Okay.
for a second here? I want to make sure I'm interested in radio,
Okay.
and radio in the 1930s and 40s. And you said you would only listen to the radio one night a week. Was that because it was a battery radio and you were saving the battery power?
That plus we worked on a farm. We was always busy. When you work on a farm all day long, you come home, you're anxious and getting some sleep.
Okay.
They didn't usually turn the radio on. Once in a while it was turned on, but once turned on, you just a little bit of music or the news, and that was it. We went to bed fairly early. We worked hard on the farm. When Uncle Sam took me off of the farm, I had the longest I'd ever been away from home was 2 weeks one time when my dad had pneumonia, and I was a kid, 8 years old, and they sent me and my brother to an aunt while Dad recuperated, and he made it. Made it with a pint of whiskey. Saved his life. My dad's life was saved with a pint of whiskey. Had double pneumonia. The doctor said, "No way, nothing I can do for him." Told the landlord. He said, "If he's alive in the morning, call me." He left. That's back when they made house calls. And the man come over and he said, "John," he said, "you worked for me almost 8 years now. You and me never had a party. We're going to have a party." And he poured out him about a fourth of a glass of whiskey and poured a big spoonful of ginger in it. "Drink this, John." And he drank it. In 2 hours, he was sweating sweat was pouring off of him. Broke his fever. Hadn't been for that man, that landlord, he'd have probably died. Well, there's stuff that's in this world that's for good, and there's stuff that's for evil. There's stuff that's meant for good that people use for evil. Now they're starting to find something that's marijuana's good for. Look how long years it's been used for evil. Whiskey's the same way. But I couldn't say I promoted that stuff for 6 years, brother. I didn't want my band to be drunk. And I made a deal with the bartender. When somebody brought a rounder to look at me and see what to send. And if I said that away, they set up 5 rounds of Coca-Cola in a shot glass, brother. And my guys drank it. And once, when I thought they could just handle a drink, they got a drink. When they couldn't handle it, they didn't. The only one fellow I never had any control over was Slim McCoy. That's that fiddle player, and he drank it like water. He never did get drunk, never did. I don't know what kept him sober, but he, good old boy, good old boy.